Well, good morning. We made it. Well, we made it to 4 weeks anyway. Today's the 16th of March. It is currently the start of day 28, which means that we have reached the end of the 4th week of quitting marijuana and video games. Those of you who have watched, the one or two of you who've been watching through the series, will know that there's been some changes that we've been through, or that I've been through at least. Last night was actually the first night that I had what I'd like to refer to, or what I like to refer to as, I can't remember exactly what happened during the night. I know that I only got up to use the bathroom once, and I don't remember exactly if that's the case, but I feel like it's a good sign that I don't remember. And that's kind of what I'm referring to, I suppose, is that when you don't remember what's happened, that I feel like it's more likely that you were just kind of sleeping or drifting from awake into sleep. Like I said, I don't remember getting up twice. I only remember the one time. So yeah, and I don't know if that's the Clomid kicking in, if that's the hormone starting to come back online, or whether it's the physical withdrawal thinning out. But that's where I'm at with that, and I think I'm more inclined to believe that it's the physical withdrawal thinning out than the Clomid. I don't remember a side effect that said that you're going to get better sleep on taking a drug that improves your hormone production. So, although I suppose, given that hormones are a part of the body's need for sleep, it may be that maybe that is the case, and maybe that since I went off tea that I've been getting up more frequently because there's been less hormone. But I guess we'll find out when the doctor gets back to me about that. Yesterday I finished writing my first book, the first book as an adult. When I was a kid, I wrote a couple of books. Obviously, when you're a kid, you tend to write small books. Excuse me, still a bit early here. And they were books about, I remember one was about a fighter pilot in World War II, and I remember one previous to that was about a bird with a worm that crashed into a tree and died. A lot of my books have been about things flying and crashing. This book was, this isn't an advertisement, of course. I'm not going to go into what the book is, but it came about as a result of changing some behaviors. And recently I took a survey that a friend recommended called the VIA survey as a way of figuring out what my strengths were, what my top strengths were, my character strengths. And the ones that I got, I was able to tie to behavior that I've been exhibiting the last 4 weeks. And I think it's interesting because all of them were things that I've been exercising more recently. So, for example, honesty, humor, perspective, those sorts of things, leadership. These strengths, these top 5 strengths, are all things that I've been exercising a lot more recently. And as a result, my life has actually gotten better. I've noticed that I'm happier and I'm getting more satisfaction, which is what the survey says that is actually going to happen. If you practice these strengths in your life more, you will find more satisfaction in what you do, and more fulfillment and more success. And it makes sense, using your strengths more means that you should be able to accomplish more or get more done. But it was interesting to see them written down, and then the report that you can get. You pay $20 to get an extended report on the top 5. I didn't want to go for the whole 25 strengths and sort of a breakdown of those, because to me it was more important to get access to just the top 5. And I have been injecting them into my work, and I have, particularly with the book, that was one when it came to leadership, was to lead yourself. One of the recommendations at the end of the survey and the breakdown of the strengths for leadership was to lead yourself rather than leading other people, and to do something that you've been putting off that was difficult. And I've started and failed probably half a dozen books. I've had book ideas come through my mind when I was in the middle of drug binges that just sort of fell by the wayside because my motivation wasn't there. But having quit this time, I felt like I needed to replace it with something, the quitting. I needed to replace it with something, and when I had my little mushroom experience, I came to realize that it wasn't so much, like in the past, thinking about it was daunting because it was the whole book that I was thinking about. Whereas this time I spent a little more time thinking about how to approach it, how to break it down, and how to make it less daunting. And I did that by thinking about it in the abstract, by asking myself, well, what would the book look like? What would it be about? How would I write it? If hypothetically I was to do this, how would I do it? And it meant that I had no commitment or obligation. And when I sort of laid all the steps out, I realized that, well, I could manage this. 45 minutes a day, first thing in the morning, after I get, after I fucking drink a hot beverage. And it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. There's no judgment on what it is that I write. I just write for 45 minutes, bare minimum, and then I walk away from it. And I come back the next day and I read some of what I've done to get an idea for tone, and then I just continue on. So that worked out. And the work itself is, I believe, is somewhat humorous. It's definitely honest. That was one of the other character strengths that came out, was about honesty for me. And as a result, the book was enjoyable to write, it was enjoyable to research, and having finished it yesterday, I had that sort of, I don't know how to feel about it feeling. And it's been a while since I felt that way. It was accomplishment. I wanted to cry, I wanted to laugh, I wanted to, shout out loud. There's still a lot of work for it to be ready, but applying these strengths during the quitting, unconsciously, I mean, I was making intentional decisions, but I wasn't aware of the strengths affecting them until yesterday, until I looked at what my strengths were or are at the moment, and then realized how much those things had actually affected the actions that I've been taking recently. And so that was really powerful. So if you're watching this, I can highly recommend jumping into that survey. It's free. You can get the top 24. You get the top 25 are all free to do, and you'll figure out what your top 5 are from that. And then for an extra $20, you get a real good breakdown of the top 5, which I think is sort of the most important ones. And yeah, I've gotten value from it, certainly, and it's kind of opened, or it's like a legend on a map. It's helped me understand where I came from, what has worked for me in the past, and what's currently working for me. Anyway, as far as quitting goes, our video games have really not been rearing their ugly head at all. I feel like I said yesterday, the more I pull the marijuana out, the more the video games just doesn't have a leg to stand on. And as an adult, it's starting to seem more and more like kind of like a child's activity to me. There are still some games that I would have liked to have played. Ghost of Tsushima was one of them, but even that, it just doesn't have the same sort of appeal, and I'm happy with that. In the tradition of trying to make an interesting video each week, I'm going to try to put something up today that's a little different, and it's going to be going over dealing with the haters, dealing with people who kind of ridicule you for wanting to quit video games and wanting to better yourself, the types of people that you'll encounter, and maybe some of the reasons why they're doing those types of things. It's meant to give you, or me, perspective, and kind of make your foundation a little stronger. So that one will come out a little bit later on today. Anyway, that's it for me this morning. You might not be able to tell by the low energy tone, but I am actually feeling pretty good today. I know I got a decent amount of sleep last night, so yeah. Anyway, that's it for me. Ka kite.